Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked at the frozen canyon before him. The ice sparkled under the twin suns of Artemis Prime, creating patterns of light that hurt his eyes. He had been walking for 3 hours now, checking the rock formations for valuable minerals. This was his job, and he was good at it. But today felt different somehow. The mining colony was his home now. He had left Earth 2 years ago, wanting to start fresh somewhere new. Back home, there were too many bad memories and mistakes he wanted to forget. Out here among the stars, he could be someone different. Someone useful. His scanner beeped suddenly. Jake stopped and looked at the screen. There was something big buried under the ice ahead. Something metal. That was strange. There were no other mining teams in this area. He checked his map again to be sure. No, he was alone out here. Jake walked closer to where the scanner pointed. The ice here was old and thick. He could see something dark beneath it, like a shadow frozen in time. His heart beat faster. Maybe it was just an old storage container someone had lost. But what if it was something else? What if it was something important? He pulled out his heat tool and began melting the ice. Steam rose up around him as the frozen water turned to liquid and dripped away. Slowly, inch by inch, the shape became clearer. It was a ship. An old ship covered in strange symbols he had never seen before. His hand started to shake a little. This was not human technology. Jake knew he should call the colony and report this. That was the rule. But something made him hesitate. What if they took the discovery away from him? What if he never got to see what was inside? He had found it. He wanted to look first. After an hour of careful work, he found the entrance. The door was sealed tight, but there was a control panel next to it. Jake touched it carefully. To his surprise, lights flickered on. The ship still had power after all this time. The door hissed and began to open slowly. Cold air rushed out from inside, colder than the ice around him. Jake turned on his helmet light and stepped through the doorway. The corridor inside was dark and quiet. Frost covered the walls. His footsteps echoed strangely in the silence. He found her in what looked like a sleeping chamber. She was lying in a clear pod filled with blue light. At first, Jake thought she was human. She had 2 arms, 2 legs, a face like his. But her skin was wrong. It was silver, shining like metal in the dim light. Her hair was black and long, floating around her face as if she was underwater. She was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Jake moved closer, unable to look away. Was she dead? How long had she been here? The pod's control panel was flashing red. He touched it, trying to understand the symbols. His finger hit a button by accident. The blue light grew brighter. The pod began to open with a loud hiss. Jake stepped back, his heart racing. What had he done? He should run. He should leave right now. But his feet would not move. The woman's eyes opened. They were purple, glowing in the darkness like 2 small flames. She looked at him and gasped, trying to breathe. She reached out with one hand, and before Jake could move, she grabbed his arm. Pain shot through his body like lightning. It felt like something was being pulled out of him, sucked away through her touch. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. His knees went weak. The world started to spin. Then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. The woman let go and fell back, breathing hard. Jake collapsed to the floor, gasping for air. His whole body felt strange, like it did not belong to him anymore. The woman looked at him with wide eyes. She said something in a language he did not understand. Her voice was soft, but carried power in it. She touched her chest and said a word that sounded like a name. Then she pointed at him and spoke again, her expression confused and worried. Jake managed to sit up. His vision was clearing now. He looked down at his arm where she had grabbed him. There was a mark on his skin, glowing with a soft golden light. It looked like a pattern, circular and complex, made of lines that seemed to move and shift when he stared at them. The woman was staring at the mark too. Her purple eyes were wide with shock. She spoke again, faster this time, and Jake felt something strange in his mind. It was like hearing words without sound, feeling meaning without language. She was afraid. She was confused, and she thought he was something impossible. Jake stood up slowly, keeping his distance. He pointed to himself and said his name clearly. The woman watched him carefully. She repeated his name, her accent making it sound different but still right. Then she pointed to herself and spoke. Silvera. That was her name. Queen Silvera, he somehow understood, though she had not said the word queen. The knowledge just appeared in his mind, clear and certain. She was royalty. She was ancient. and she was something humans called a vampire, though that word did not really explain what she truly was. Silvara stood up carefully, still weak from her long sleep. She was tall, taller than Jake by several inches. She moved with grace even though she was unsteady. She looked around the ship with sad eyes as if remembering things that hurt her. Then she turned back to Jake and touched the mark on his arm gently. This time there was no pain. Instead, he felt warmth spread through him. Images filled his mind. He saw flashes of her memories. A beautiful city with towers of crystal. A war that tore the sky apart. Ships fleeing through space. Darkness and cold and endless sleep. When the visions faded, Jake understood more. She had been running from an enemy. Something terrible called the Devourers. They had destroyed her world and hunted her people across the stars. She had crashed here and gone into deep sleep to survive, waiting for rescue that never came. Silvara looked at the mark again and said something that Jake felt in his bones. The Chosen. She kept saying that word or thinking it. He was the Chosen. But chosen for what? And why him? He was nobody special, just a man who fixed machines and dug holes in frozen ground. Jake tried to speak to her to ask questions, but she suddenly swayed and nearly fell. She was still too weak. She needed help. He made a decision then. He would take her back to the colony. Dr. Chen could help her. They could figure out what all this meant together. But as they made their way back to the entrance of the ship, Jake felt something change in the air. The mark on his arm began to pulse with warmth. Silvara stopped walking and turned her face to the sky, fear clear in her glowing eyes. She grabbed his arm again, not to feed this time, but to warn. Through their strange connection, Jake felt what she felt. Something bad was coming, something that had been searching for her for a very long time. They had found her at last. Jake helped Silvara walk back to his transport vehicle. She was still weak and leaned against him for support. The mark on his arm kept pulsing, getting warmer with each passing minute. Something was definitely wrong. When they reached the vehicle, Jake tried to call the colony on his radio. Static filled the air. That was strange. The communications always worked perfectly. He tried again, adjusting the frequency. Still nothing but noise. Silvara touched his shoulder and pointed at the sky. Jake looked up and felt his blood turn cold. 3 dark shapes were descending through the atmosphere. They moved in ways that no ship should move, flowing and shifting like smoke given form. Even from this distance, Jake could feel that something was terribly wrong about them. He started the vehicle and drove as fast as he could toward the colony. The journey normally took 30 minutes. He made it in 15, pushing the engine to its limits. Silvara sat beside him, her purple eyes fixed on the sky behind them. The colony came into view and Jake's heart sank. Alarms were blaring. People were running in all directions. He could see the defense turrets firing up at the sky, their energy beams cutting through the air. But the dark ship simply flowed around the attacks, untouched and unstoppable. Jake parked the vehicle and jumped out. A woman ran past him, screaming. He grabbed her arm to stop her. It was Maria Lopez from the maintenance crew. Her face was pale with terror. Something came through the wall, she gasped. It went right through the metal like it was air. It touched Danny and he just fell down. His eyes went empty. Jake, what are those things? Jake did not have an answer. But Silvara did. She stepped forward and spoke, her voice carrying power that made everyone nearby stop and turn. Through the mark, Jake understood her words even though she spoke in her own language. They are the Devourers. Jake translated without thinking. They feed on life energy. Your weapons cannot harm them because they exist partly in another dimension. We have to get everyone to the central shelter. Now Commander Blake appeared, his uniform torn and his face covered in dirt. He had his weapon drawn and was shouting orders into his communicator. When he saw Jake and the strange silver woman beside him, his eyes went wide. Morrison, what the hell is going on? Who is she? Blake demanded. She can help us, Jake said quickly. She knows what these things are. Commander, we need to listen to her. Blake looked like he wanted to argue, but another explosion nearby made the decision for him. We can sort this out later. Right now, we need to save lives. What do we do? Silver closed her eyes for a moment, then spoke again. Jake translated her words. The central shelter has thick walls and a strong energy signature. The Devourers will be drawn to it, but that also means we can concentrate our defense. I can create a barrier, but I will need time. Blake nodded and started giving orders. The evacuation began in earnest. Families ran toward the central shelter, carrying children and precious belongings. The security teams formed a perimeter, their weapons ready even though they knew the bullets would do little good. Jake stayed with Silvara as she moved toward the shelter entrance. The mark on his arm was burning now, but it was not painful. It felt like energy was flowing through him, filling him with strength he had never known. He could see things more clearly. His reactions were faster. When a piece of debris fell from above, he moved and caught it before it could hit a child running past. Dr. Amy Chen found them near the shelter. Her medical bag was slung over her shoulder, and her face showed her usual calm determination. Jake, your vital signs are all over my scanner. What happened to you? Long story, Jake replied. Right now we have bigger problems. A shadow fell over them. Jake looked up and saw one of the Devourer ships descending directly overhead. It was massive, blotting out the sun. The air grew cold. Frost began forming on the buildings around them. Then they came. The Devourers poured out of the ship like smoke made solid. They had no fixed shape, flowing and changing as they moved. Jake could see faces in their darkness, the faces of victims they had consumed. The sight made him feel sick. Silvara raised her hands and spoke words of power. Purple light erupted from her body, forming a dome over the shelter. The Devourers hit the barrier and screamed, their voices like metal scraping on metal. The barrier held, but Jake could see Silvara shaking with effort. She was still too weak from her long sleep. Without thinking, Jake stepped forward and put his hand on her shoulder. The mark on his arm blazed with golden light. He felt energy flowing out of him. Through the mark, into Silvara. The barrier grew stronger, brighter. The Devourers fell back, unable to penetrate the combined power, but there were too many of them. They began flowing around the barrier, looking for weak points. Jake saw one slip through a gap near the ground. It moved toward a group of children huddled against the wall. Jake ran faster than he had ever run before. The mark gave him speed, strength, and something else. He could see the Devourer's energy pattern, could understand how it moved between dimensions. When he reached out his hand, golden light erupted from his palm. The light struck the Devourer and it shrieked, twisting in pain before dissolving into nothing. Jake stared at his hand in shock. What had he just done? How had he done it? The mark, Silvara's voice echoed in his mind. It connects us. My power flows through you. Your life force strengthens me. Together we are more than we are apart. More Devourers were getting through the barrier. Jake moved to intercept them, his hands blazing with golden light. Each touch destroyed them. Around him, people were fighting back with whatever they could find. Commander Blake coordinated the defense, using tactics to herd the creatures toward Jake and Silvara. Dr. Chen pulled injured people to safety, her medical training saving lives even in the chaos. Claire Martinez, one of the transport pilots, used her small ship to draw Devourer attention away from the shelter. Sam Johnson, a Marine, stood his ground with his rifle even though the bullets barely slowed the creatures down. The battle felt like it lasted forever, but it was only minutes. Finally, the Devourers began to retreat. Their ships pulled back, rising into the sky. But Jake knew this was not over. This was just the beginning. As the enemy disappeared into the clouds, Silvara's barrier flickered and faded. She collapsed and Jake caught her before she hit the ground. Around them, the colony was in ruins. Buildings were damaged. People were crying. Some would never wake up again. Commander Blake walked over to them, his expression hard. We need answers, Morrison. Right now. Jake nodded, supporting Silvara's weight. I will tell you everything. But first you need to know something. This attack was not random. They came here looking for her. And they will come back. How long do we have? Blake asked. Silvara lifted her head weakly. Not long, she whispered, her voice carrying to everyone nearby through the strange power that connected them all. They are gathering their forces. When they return, they will bring enough ships to consume this entire world. The crowd fell silent. Fear hung in the air like a physical thing. Then a small voice spoke up. It was Katie Sullivan, the 8-year-old girl Jake had saved earlier. But you stopped them, she said, looking at Jake with wide eyes. You and the pretty lady. You can stop them again, right? Jake looked down at the mark on his arm, still glowing faintly. He looked at Silvara, at the people around him, at the damaged colony that was his home. He thought about Earth, about all the other human colonies spread across space. If the Devourers were not stopped here, they would spread. They would consume everything. We will try, Jake said simply. We will do whatever it takes. The meeting room was crowded with the colony's leadership. Commander Blake stood at the head of the table. his face tired but determined. Dr. Chen sat nearby with her datapad, studying the readings she had taken from Jake. Silvara stood by the window, looking out at the stars, her silver skin catching the light. Jake explained everything. How he had found the crashed ship, how he had woken Silvara, how the mark had appeared and connected them. The room stayed silent as he spoke, everyone processing the impossible truth that aliens existed and they were not friendly. "So what do we do?" asked Lisa Park, the colony's administrator. "We cannot fight those things with our weapons. We barely survived one attack." Silvara turned from the window. "There is only one way to stop the Devourers permanently. My people, the Nocturne, once fought them across 1,000 worlds. We developed weapons and techniques that could hurt them, but my people are scattered now, hiding in the dark corners of space. If we can find them and unite them, we might have a chance, and you think they will follow you?" Blake asked, his tone skeptical. Silvara's expression was sad. "I do not know. I was their queen once, but that was long ago. Many blame me for the war that destroyed our civilization. They may refuse to listen. Then why try?" Someone asked from the back of the room. "Because it is the only chance your species has," Silvara replied. "The Devourers have found humanity now. They will not stop until every human is consumed. They are patient. They are relentless. And they are very, very hungry." Jake stood up. "I will go with her. The mark connects us. Maybe that means something to her people. Maybe I can help convince them." Dr. Chen looked up from her pad. "Jake, your body is changing. The mark is rewriting your DNA. I do not know what you are becoming, but it is happening fast. You might need medical support." "Then come with us," Jake said. "We will need someone who understands what is happening to me." Commander Blake crossed his arms. "You will need more than a doctor. I am assigning a team to go with you. Claire Martinez will pilot. She's the best we have. Sam Johnson will provide security. And I want regular reports. If this mission fails, we need to know so we can prepare for the worst." 3 days later, they departed in a fast scout ship called the Wanderer. It was small but quick, designed for exploration and reconnaissance. Claire sat in the pilot's seat, her hands steady on the controls. Sam checked his weapons in the back, even though Jake had explained that normal bullets would not help much against what they might face. Silvara guided them through space using ancient navigation methods that no human had ever seen. She would close her eyes and feel for the energy signatures of her people, like following threads in a vast web. It took weeks to reach the first location. The station was hidden inside an asteroid field. It looked abandoned from the outside, but Silvara assured them it was occupied. When they docked, armed Nocturne warriors met them. They were tall and elegant like Silvara, but their skin was darker, ranging from deep purple to black. Their eyes glowed with different colors: red, blue, green. The warriors pointed weapons at them, weapons that hummed with energy. One of them, a male with red eyes, spoke in the Nocturne language. Through the mark, Jake could understand him. "You should not have come here, Queen. You bring death with you." "I bring hope," Silvara replied. "The Devourers have found a new species to hunt. If we do not unite against them, they will consume the humans and grow stronger, strong enough to find every last one of us." The warrior looked at Jake and the others. "Let the humans die. It is not our concern." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. The mark on his arm began to glow. He stepped forward, and to everyone's surprise, golden light spread from his hand. "It is your concern," Jake said in perfect Nocturne, the words coming to him through the mark. "Because I am the chosen. Your prophecy spoke of me." The warrior stepped back in shock. The red-eyed one lowered his weapon. "Impossible. The chosen was meant to be Nocturne, apparently not," Jake replied. "Silvara gave me her mark. I carry your power in my veins now. Whether you like it or not, I am part of this." An older Nocturne appeared from deeper in the station. He was ancient, his silver hair long and his skin pale. This was Elder Vorath, one of the surviving clan leaders. He studied Jake with wise, tired eyes. "If you are truly the chosen, you will prove it," Vorath said. "Face me in the trial of minds. If you survive, we will listen to your queen's words." Jake looked at Silvara. "What is the trial of minds?" "A battle fought in the psychic realm," she explained. "It is dangerous. If you lose, your mind could break, and if I do not try, then we leave with nothing and billions of humans will die." Jake nodded. "I will do it." They took him to a circular room carved from the asteroid itself. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing faintly. Elder Vorath sat on one side of the circle. Jake sat opposite him. Silvara stood nearby, her hands clasped tight with worry. Vorath closed his eyes. Jake did the same. The mark on his arm grew warm, then hot. Suddenly, Jake was no longer in the room. He stood in a vast, empty space filled with stars. Vorath appeared before him, but different, larger, more powerful, made of pure energy and will. "Show me your strength, human." Vorath's voice echoed all around. Vorath attacked with pure psychic force. Jake felt the pressure crushing him, trying to break his mind apart. He pushed back, drawing on the power of the mark. Golden light erupted from him, meeting the Elder's attack. The battle raged in the space between thoughts. Vorath was old and experienced, but Jake had something the Elder did not expect: human stubbornness. The refusal to quit even when logic said to give up. Every time Vorath pushed him down, Jake got back up. More than that, Jake began to understand the nature of the mark. It was not just Silvera's power flowing into him. It was a bridge. Through it, he could feel all the potential of both species. The Nocturne's ancient wisdom and the human's adaptability, combining into something new. Jake stopped defending and did something unexpected. He opened his mind completely, showing Vorath everything: his memories of Earth, his journey to the stars, his fears and hopes. The moment he found Silvara, the terror of the Devourer attack, the determination to save everyone, human and Nocturne alike. Vorath paused, surprised by the honesty. Then slowly the Elder's attack faded. The psychic space around them changed, becoming less harsh. Vorath stood before Jake at normal size now, his expression thoughtful. "You did not win through strength," Vorath said, "but you did not lose through weakness either. You showed me something I had forgotten: hope. It has been so long since I felt hope." "Then help us," Jake replied. "We need you, all of you." The psychic space faded. Jake opened his eyes and found himself back in the circular room. His head hurt and his body was covered in sweat. Dr. Chen was checking his pulse, her face worried. Sam stood ready with his weapon, though Jake was not sure what the Marine could have done to help. Elder Vorath opened his eyes and smiled. It was the first time any of them had seen a Nocturne smile. It transformed his whole face, making him look younger. "He is worthy," the Elder announced. "We will gather our forces and join Queen Silvara's cause." The room erupted in voices, some angry, some relieved. But Vorath raised his hand for silence. "However," he continued, "this station's forces alone will not be enough. You must visit the other clans, convince them as you have convinced me. Only together can we face what is coming." Over the following weeks, they traveled from one hidden Nocturne settlement to another. Each time, Jake had to prove himself, sometimes through combat, sometimes through tests of character, sometimes simply by sharing his truth and refusing to give up. Slowly, the fleet grew. Ships emerged from hiding. Old warriors took up arms again, and hope began to spread through the scattered Nocturne people. A young warrior named Kira became friends with Sam, trading fighting techniques and stories. Claire amazed the Nocturne pilots with her daring flying style. Dr. Chen worked with Nocturne healers, sharing knowledge that helped both species. And through it all, Jake changed. His body adapted further. He could see energy now, could phase through solid matter for brief moments, could survive in vacuum without a suit. He was becoming something between human and Nocturne, something new. One night, as the Wanderer traveled between stars, Silvara found Jake looking out the observation window. "Are you afraid?" she asked softly. "Terrified," Jake admitted. "I do not know what I am anymore." "What I am becoming." Silvara stood beside him. "You are the bridge between our peoples. You are hope made flesh. You are the reason I believe we can win." Jake looked at her and saw something in her purple eyes he had not noticed before. She cared for him, not just as the chosen or as a useful ally, but as himself. And he realized that he cared for her too, this ancient queen who had lost everything but kept fighting. Before he could say anything, the ship's alarm blared. Claire's voice came over the intercom, tight with fear. "Everyone to the bridge, now. We have incoming transmission." "It is from Earth." They rushed to the bridge. The message was audio only, broken up with static. Commander Blake's voice came through, barely recognizable. Long-range sensors detected massive Devourer fleet heading toward Earth. "They will arrive in less than a week. If you are coming back, come now. Bring everything you have. This is our last stand." The message ended. The bridge fell silent. Jake looked at Silvara, at his crew, at the star map showing their position. They were weeks away from gathering all the nocturne forces they had hoped for. But Earth did not have weeks. "Set course for Earth," Jake ordered. "Tell all Allied ships to follow us. We go with what we have." "It might not be enough," Silvera warned. "Then we make it enough," Jake replied, "because I am not going to let my home die without a fight." Earth hung in space before them, blue and green and beautiful. But the beauty was marred by the dark shapes surrounding it. The Devourer fleet was massive, hundreds of ships flowing around the planet like a swarm of insects. Human defense forces were scattered around Earth's orbit, fighting desperately but losing ground with every passing minute. Jake stood on the bridge of the lead Nocturne warship, watching the battle. The mark on his arm pulsed with energy, connecting him to Silvera beside him and to the dozens of Nocturne ships that had followed them across the stars. It was not enough. He could see that immediately. Even combined, the human and Nocturne forces were outnumbered 3-1. Commander Blake's face appeared on the screen. "Morrison, you came back." His voice held relief and exhaustion. "I brought friends," Jake replied. "Blake, coordinate with the Nocturne fleet. They know how to fight these things. Follow their lead." Blake nodded. "All human ships, new orders. Form up with the alien vessels. Learn fast and fight hard. Today we make history." The combined fleet dove into battle. The Nocturne ships had weapons that could actually hurt the Devourers, energy weapons tuned to disrupt their phase-shifting abilities. Human ships provided support, using their advanced targeting systems to coordinate attacks. Sam Johnson and Kira led boarding parties onto damaged Devourer vessels, destroying them from within. But the Devourers adapted quickly. They began focusing their attacks, overwhelming individual ships with sheer numbers. Jake watched as a human cruiser took too many hits and exploded in a ball of fire. He felt each death through the mark, a sharp pain in his chest. "We cannot win like this," Silvera said quietly. "There are too many." Dr. Chen's voice came through Jake's communicator. "Jake, I have been analyzing the data. Your transformation is accelerating. The stress of battle is triggering something. Your energy signature is spiking." Jake looked down at his hands. They were starting to glow, soft golden light shining through his skin. He could feel the change happening inside him. His body wanted to let go, to transform completely into pure energy. The mark was pulling him toward something, a final evolution. "The prophecy spoke of this," Silvera said, her voice tight with fear. "The chosen would sacrifice their form to become the weapon. But Jake, if you do this, you might not survive. The transformation could burn you up completely." On the screen, another ship died. This time it was Claire's transport. Jake saw the explosion and felt his heart stop. Then Claire's voice came through, shaky but alive. "I'm okay. Ejected just in time. But I am out of this fight." Jake made his decision. "Get me to a shuttle. I am going out there." "Jake, no." Silvera grabbed his arm. "Please, there has to be another way." He looked at her, really looked at her. This ancient queen who had fought for centuries, who had lost everything, who was finally learning to hope again. He gently touched her face. "You taught me that some things are worth dying for. Earth is my home. Humanity is my people, and you are worth saving too." Tears formed in Silvera's purple eyes. "I cannot lose you. Not when I just found you. You will not lose me," Jake promised. "Part of me will always be with you. The mark connects us, remember? No matter what happens, we are bound." He kissed her then, quick and desperate. Then he ran to the shuttle bay before he could change his mind. The small shuttle launched into the battle. Jake did not try to avoid the Devourers. Instead, he flew straight toward them. They swarmed around his ship, attracted by the massive energy signature he was giving off. Perfect. Jake opened the shuttle doors and stepped out into space. His body should have died instantly in the vacuum. Instead, the golden light erupted from every part of him. The transformation took hold fully. His physical form began breaking down, converting into pure bioelectric energy. The pain was incredible. It felt like being torn apart and rebuilt at the same time. But through it, Jake held on to one thought: save them, save everyone. Power flooded through him more than he had ever felt. He was no longer bound by a single body. His consciousness expanded, spreading across the battlefield. He could feel every human, every nocturne, every living being in the area. And he could feel the Devourers too, their cold hunger and their hive mind connecting them all. Jake reached out with his new form. Golden light spread like waves touching each ship in the Allied fleet. He spoke directly into the minds of thousands at once. Do not fear. I am with you. Fight with everything you have. Then he did something unexpected. He offered the mark to anyone willing to accept it. Volunteers surged forward in their minds, humans and nocturne alike. The mark appeared on them, temporary but powerful. They gained enhanced abilities, improved reflexes, the power to hurt the devourers directly. Commander Blake felt the mark burn onto his shoulder. Suddenly he could see the battle patterns clearly, could predict where the devourers would strike next. He gave orders with perfect precision, and the fleet responded like a single organism. Sam Johnson fought alongside Kira, both bearing the mark. They moved through a devourer ship with supernatural speed, destroying its core before it could phase away. Even Dr. Chen, safe on a medical ship, felt the mark appear on her hand. Through it, she could sense the wounded, could guide medical teams with perfect accuracy to save lives that would have been lost. But the greatest change happened in Silvara. The mark she bore, the original connection to Jake, blazed like a star. Power flowed through her from Jake's transformed state. She became a beacon of light. Her psychic abilities amplified 1,000 times. She struck at the devourers with devastating force, her attacks tearing through their ships like paper. The devourer hive mind sensed the threat. It recognized Jake as the key to everything. All the enemy ships turned their attention to the glowing figure of energy that had once been human. They poured their attacks into him, trying to overwhelm and destroy him. Jake felt himself being torn apart. His energy form could not hold together under this much damage. He was dying, burning up like a star running out of fuel. But he had one chance. One final move. He dove into the devourer hive mind itself. It was like plunging into ice water, cold and hostile. The hive tried to consume him, to add his consciousness to the millions they had already taken. But Jake fought back with everything he had. Not with power or strength, but with humanity itself. He showed the hive what it meant to care for others, to sacrifice for strangers, to hope when all seemed lost. He showed them love and courage and the stubborn refusal to quit that defined humanity at its best. And somehow, impossibly, the hive could not process it. These emotions were alien to them, incomprehensible. The connection shattered. The devourer hive mind broke apart. Each ship suddenly cut off from the others. They lost their coordination, their purpose. Without the hive to guide them, they were just empty vessels drifting in space. The Allied fleet pressed their advantage. Ships that had been losing now fought with renewed strength. The battle turned in minutes. Devourer vessels fell one by one, destroyed or fleeing into the darkness. But Jake was fading. His energy form grew dimmer, spreading too thin. He tried to hold himself together, but it was like trying to hold water in his hands. Everything was slipping away. Through the mark, he felt Silvara crying out for him. He reached for her across the distance, wanting to tell her it was okay. That he did not regret his choice. That loving her had made him more than he ever thought he could be. His consciousness touched hers one last time. The mark flared between them, binding them together even as Jake's form dissipated into nothing. He tried to speak, to say goodbye, but he was too weak. Instead, he just smiled, hoping she could feel it through their connection. Then there was nothing. No pain, no fear. Just quiet darkness. On the bridge of the Nocturne flagship, Silvara fell to her knees. The mark on her hand was burning bright, brighter than it ever had before. Around her, the crew celebrated their victory. Earth was saved. The devourers were defeated, but Silvara could not celebrate. She held her marked hand to her chest and wept. She had won the war but lost something far more precious. The one person in all the universe who had made her feel alive again was gone. Commander Blake approached her carefully. "Your Majesty, we owe him everything. We owe you everything. His sacrifice will be remembered." Silvara looked up at him, her purple eyes bright with tears. He should not have had to sacrifice anything. He was just trying to live, to be happy. And I could not save him. Blake had no answer for that. He just stood beside her, sharing her grief. Dr. Chen arrived on the bridge, her face pale. "Commander, I need to show you something." The energy readings from Jake's transformation. "They are still active. What do you mean?" Blake asked. Chen pulled up data on the screen. His consciousness did not die. It scattered. He is spread across billions of living things now, human and nocturne and everything else in this system. He exists in the bioelectric field that connects all life. Silvara stood up slowly, hope dawning on her face. You mean he is still alive? In a way, Dr. Chen replied, but he is fragmented, diffused across so much space that he cannot form a coherent consciousness. He exists, but he cannot think or feel or be himself. Can we bring him back? Blake asked. Dr. Chen looked at Silvara. Maybe. The mark she bears is still active. It is the strongest anchor point to Jake's consciousness. If we can amplify it, we might be able to call him back together. But it would be risky. We might lose what little remains of him. Silvara did not hesitate. Do it, whatever it takes. I am not giving up on him. After all, she thought, looking out at the stars where Jake had disappeared, he never gave up on any of us. How can I do less for him? 3 months passed. Earth was healing. The scars from the battle were being repaired and new buildings rose where old ones had fallen. Humans and Nocturne worked side by side now, sharing technology and knowledge. The impossible alliance had become real, but Silvara felt empty. She spent her days helping coordinate the alliance, speaking with clan leaders and human officials. She did what needed to be done. But at night she would hold the mark on her hand and whisper to the darkness, hoping Jake could somehow hear her. Dr. Chen worked tirelessly on the problem. She gathered the best scientists from Earth and the best shamans from the Nocturne clans. Together they studied the mark, analyzed energy patterns, and built equipment that could amplify psychic signals across vast distances. Commander Blake visited Silvara one evening. He found her standing on a balcony overlooking the rebuilt colony on Artemis Prime. The place where Jake had found her ship seemed right for what they were about to attempt. Dr. Chen says we are ready, Blake said quietly. The equipment is in place. We can try the recall procedure whenever you give the word. Silvara gripped the railing. What if it does not work? What if we lose what little remains of him? Blake moved to stand beside her. I did not know Morrison well, but I know he would want us to try. He never gave up on anyone. He would not want us to give up on him. Silvara nodded slowly. Tomorrow, then. We will try tomorrow. The next day, representatives from a dozen different species gathered to witness the attempt. News of the Human-Nocturne alliance had spread across known space. Other species were curious, hopeful, and in some cases, afraid of what this new cooperation might mean for the galaxy. The ceremony took place in the canyon where Jake had found Silvara's ship. Dr. Chen had set up a massive array of equipment, powered by energy generators from both Earth and the Nocturne homeworld. The symbolism was important. 2 worlds, 2 peoples working together. Silvara stood in the center of the array. The mark on her hand was exposed, glowing softly. Around her, Nocturne shamans formed a circle chanting in their ancient language. Human scientists monitored equipment, ready to adjust power levels at a moment's notice. Sam Johnson and Kira stood nearby, holding hands. They had gotten close during the battle and the months after. Their relationship was proof that the alliance was more than just politics. It was personal. Claire Martinez stood with Dr. Chen, her pilot's instincts making her nervous about things she could not control. Dr. Chen checked her readings one last time. We are ready. Your Majesty, focus on your connection to Jake. Remember everything you shared. The equipment will amplify your signal across the bioelectric field. If he is out there, he will hear you. Silvara closed her eyes and thought of Jake. She remembered his smile when they first truly communicated, his courage when facing the Devourers, his determination to save everyone even at the cost of himself. She remembered their brief kiss before he left for the final battle. Come back to me, she whispered. Please, I need you. Dr. Chen activated the equipment. Power surged through the array. The mark on Silvara's hand blazed with golden light so bright that people had to look away. The light spread outward in waves, invisible to normal eyes but visible to those with psychic sensitivity. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Silvara gasped. She could feel him. Fragments of Jake's consciousness, scattered across billions of living things. Each piece was tiny, barely aware, but together they formed something. The essence of who he had been. The mark acted as a beacon, calling those fragments home. Slowly at first, then faster, pieces of Jake's consciousness began flowing back toward Silvara. They merged together, reforming, remembering what they had been. Golden light gathered in the air above the array. It swirled and condensed, taking shape. Everyone watched in awe as the light formed into a human figure. Tall and strong, glowing with inner power. Features became clear. Dark hair, kind eyes. That slight smile Jake always wore when he was determined to do something impossible. But something was different. Jake's form flickered, shifting between solid matter and pure energy. He was there, truly there, but not quite physical in the way he had been before. He had become something new, something that existed between states of being. Jake opened his eyes and looked around in wonder. He saw the crowd, the equipment, the two worlds working together. Then his eyes found Silvara and his face lit up with joy. "Hi," he said simply. "Did I miss much?" Silvara laughed and cried at the same time. She ran forward and threw her arms around him. For a moment she thought she would pass right through his energy form, but his arms solidified enough to hold her, warm and real and alive. "You came back," she whispered against his chest. "You called," Jake replied. "How could I not answer?" The crowd erupted in cheers. Humans and Nocturne celebrating together, the sound echoing across the canyon. Dr. Chen was taking rapid readings, amazed by what they had accomplished. Commander Blake was actually smiling, something his crew claimed they had never seen before. Over the following days, Jake learned about his new existence. He could shift between solid and energy forms at will. He could exist in multiple places at once if he concentrated. He could sense the bioelectric field that connected all living things and move through it like swimming through water. Dr. Chen called him a bridger, the first of a new kind of being. Neither fully human nor fully nocturne, but something that combined the best of both. Jake could help species communicate, could share understanding across the barriers of language and culture. He was a living symbol of what cooperation could achieve, but Jake was still himself. He still joked with Sam about sports. He still asked Claire about her latest flying adventures. He still sat with Dr. Chen while she worked, asking questions about science that made her laugh. He was changed, but not lost, and he stayed close to Silvara. They talked for hours, learning about each other properly now that they had time. She told him about her youth, about the Nocturne civilization before the war. He told her about Earth, about human history and culture and dreams. One evening, they walked together through the rebuilt colony. People waved and called greetings. Children followed Jake, fascinated by how he glowed and flickered. He made shapes out of light for them, creating butterflies and birds that flew around their heads. Silvara watched him with those ancient eyes full of warmth. "You are happy, I am," Jake agreed. "I thought being human was the most important thing about me. But I was wrong. Being myself is what matters. Being kind, being brave, caring about others. Those things did not change when my body did." He took her hand, his fingers solid and warm in hers. "And being with you. That makes me happy too." Silvara squeezed his hand. "I love you, Jake Morrison. I have lived for over 800 years, and I never thought I would say those words to anyone. But I love you." Jake pulled her close and kissed her properly this time, not rushed or desperate like before the battle. This kiss was a promise, a beginning. When they broke apart, both were glowing, his golden light mixing with her silver radiance. "I love you too," Jake said. "I guess that makes us pretty unusual, even by galactic standards." Silvara laughed. "Unusual is good. Unusual is what saved the galaxy." A few weeks later, the formal alliance ceremony took place. It was held on Earth in the rebuilt city of New York. Representatives from 18 different species attended, all curious about the human-nocturne partnership that had defeated the Devourers. Silvara spoke to the gathered leaders, her voice carrying authority earned through centuries of experience. "Today marks a new beginning. Humanity taught my people something we had forgotten, that hope is not weakness, that change is not death, that working together makes us all stronger." She gestured to Jake, who stood beside her in his bridger form. This man was willing to give up everything to save both our peoples. He became something new, something that should not have been possible. He proved that our differences can be bridges instead of walls. Commander Blake stepped forward, now an ambassador rather than just a soldier. "Earth welcomes all species who come in peace. We offer friendship, knowledge, and cooperation. We are young compared to many of you, but we are eager to learn, and we are very, very stubborn when it comes to protecting those we care about." That got a laugh from the crowd. Humans were already gaining a reputation across the galaxy, not as the strongest or the smartest, but as the ones who simply refused to quit. Over the next year, the alliance grew. More species joined, drawn by the promise of mutual protection and shared knowledge. Earth became a hub of diplomatic activity, with humans serving as natural mediators between vastly different cultures. Dr. Chen's research led to the creation of 6 more bridgers, volunteers from different species who underwent the transformation with Jake's help. Each one became a living connection between peoples, helping translate not just words but understanding. Sam Johnson and Kira got married in a ceremony that blended human and nocturne traditions. Claire Martinez became the head of a new training program, teaching pilots from multiple species to work together. The Guardian Corps was formed, a combined military force dedicated to protecting all member species from threats like the Devourers, and Jake and Silvara continued their work, traveling between worlds helping species overcome ancient prejudices and fear. They were living proof that love and cooperation could transcend any barrier. One night, they stood together on the observation deck of a transport ship, looking out at the stars. "So many worlds out there," Jake said quietly. "So many possibilities." Silvara leaned against him, comfortable in a way she never thought she would be again. "When I was young, I dreamed of exploring the galaxy. Then the war came and I spent centuries just trying to survive. I thought those dreams were dead, and now," Jake asked, "now I have new dreams, better ones. Dreams of peace and understanding. Dreams of watching civilizations grow and flourish. Dreams of spending centuries with you, building something beautiful together." Jake turned to face her, his form glowing softly in the darkness. "I was just a mining engineer. I fixed machines and dug holes. I never imagined any of this." Silvara touched his face gently. "You were never just anything. You were kind and brave and stubborn and wonderful. The mark simply revealed what was already inside you. So what happens now?" Jake wondered aloud. "We have defeated the Devourers. We have built the Alliance. What is next?" Silvara smiled, that rare, beautiful smile that transformed her face. "Now we live. We explore. We help others. We make mistakes and learn from them. We love each other. We do all the things that free people get to do." "That sounds perfect," Jake said. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars streak past. 2 beings from different worlds, different species, different times, connected by a mark that should have been impossible, united by love that transcended every difference. Below them, Earth continued its rotation, blue and green and full of life. Around them, ships from a dozen species traveled together in peace. Above them, the infinite stars held infinite possibilities, and Jake Morrison, once a simple human engineer, now a bridger between worlds, thought about how far he had come. From frozen canyons to the stars, from loneliness to love, from ordinary to extraordinary. But in his heart he knew the truth. He had always been extraordinary. Humanity had always been extraordinary, not because they were strong or smart or powerful, but because they never gave up, because they adapted, because they dared to hope even in the darkest times, because they reached out to others instead of turning inward. The alien vampire queen had left her mark on him. She had claimed he was chosen, and in doing so, she had shown the galaxy what humanity could become, not conquerors or victims, but bridges, connectors, the ones who brought people together and helped them see their common ground. It was a good legacy, one worth fighting for, one worth living for. Jake took Silvara's hand, feeling the mark pulse between them with warmth and light and love. "Ready for the next adventure?" "Always," she replied. And together they stepped forward into their future, leaving the past behind and embracing the endless possibilities that lay ahead. 2 souls connected by fate, choice, and love. 2 peoples united by courage and hope. 1 galaxy forever changed by the day an engineer found a queen, and both of them found something neither knew they needed: each other.